I'm so thankful to you. It's why I'm so thankful to everybody in the Undefeated. Two most valuable things you have: time and your health. And for someone to be here on their birthday, starting off their birthday day and week with us, hell with Auburn, truly, that means the world to myself. Happy birthday to yourself. But Kyle, it feels like it's Alabama fans' birthdays. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And you know what? Like, you think about this. Hell with Auburn. It's his birthday, okay? So everybody inside the Undefeated, wish him a happy birthday. But think about this. Your birthday present didn't come on March 4th. It came on March 3rd or March 2nd when Antonio Coleman flipped back to Alabama. Ty, your first topic is recruiting is heating up. This coming weekend, when you look to the list of Alabama prospects coming into Tuscaloosa, it's a really good list. But most importantly, you get another class of 2025 commitment in Antonio Coleman. What do you think? Because we didn't really necessarily have time to kind of dive into Antonio Coleman, but what's the backstory? How are you feeling about this? And T, if you could pull up a quick graphic of Antonio Coleman, who is now committed back to Alabama for the class of 2025 out of Saraland.
I have been screaming to anybody that would listen, wait till March. Wait till March. Whenever we talked about these visits that took place in January with Kalen DeBoer, I referred to them as foundational. Whenever people were like, hey, how come we didn't get a bunch of commitments? I'm like, well, you got Ryan Williams, you got Noah Carter, but for the other guys that came around, it was foundational. Recruiting is all about relationships. They need to build that foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I was talking about with this staff. They are great at building and maintaining relationships. Now, I understand Coleman was once an Alabama commit, but Kyle, he flipped before Saban retired. He flipped December 23rd. Saban was still there. Roach was still there. The picture was clean. Now he's back with a new staff. I think that says a lot. I think Alabama fans need to be excited. He has got a vicious motor. He has something you can't teach, which is tenacity and want to. You either have it or you don't. We can get your technique right with Freddie Roach. We can do these little things, the strength, the speed. We can work on all that. Do you want it? Well, he does. And that's what you can't teach. Love this win. And I really do think that this is a snowball effect moving forward.
Yeah, and I think when you look to Antonio Coleman, who flipped back from Auburn to Alabama, a couple things stand out to me. Number one, he was from Saraland. Who else is from Saraland? And that's Ryan Williams. And that was really a marquee victory for Coach Kalen DeBoer to land Ryan Williams from the class of 2024. Again, he reclassified from 2025, but went head-to-head against Hugh Freeze and all the money, whatever it was. He's able to solidify that as his really first marquee prospect. Now you go into the class of 2025, where you're really going to be judged on your recruiting. How can you recruit? What are the prospects you're going to bring in, and which prospects from in the state of Alabama can you continue to retain? And I think you mentioned a really good point right here, the snowball effect. So Antonio Coleman from Saraland, same high school as Ryan Williams, teammates. But I think it also bodes well for another prospect that Alabama is looking at the quarterback position, which is KJ Lacey, right? A big-time quarterback out of the class of 2025 who everybody's excited about, who has been here to Tuscaloosa many times this year. And I think it says a lot about Coach Kalen DeBoer's overall recruiting ability early on. And I know he's only been here for maybe I don't even know if it's been 60 days, but it has been impressive to see what he's been able to do from the transfer portal, from recruiting class of 2024 and now class of 2025. And I get it. Don't fall into where is Alabama ranked inside the rankings right now, because it's still a long time away. But I think picking up Antonio Coleman really good in terms of the class of 2025 momentum. And I think it also says something about retaining Coach Freddie Roach, right? So you have Coach Freddie Roach, who is an associate head coach now at the University of Alabama with the defensive line. I like what Coleman brings to the table. As you said, he's got a really good motor, and prospects from LA, Lower Alabama, certainly doing their thing. Ty, what you think when we look to Coach Kalen DeBoer in this class of 2025? You've been seeing the prospects that are coming out, and I know in your segment here coming up, you're going to talk about recruiting. Kind of give us a taste and a teaser of what to expect this weekend as Alabama starts practice today, but is also hosting some very talented prospects from across the country.
Kyle, once again, going back to, I have been screaming this since January. The January visits were great, but they were all paving the way for this right here, which is March, where I really thought Alabama would get going. And Alabama got great news, getting Coleman back. But with that great news came some other little nuggets that, Kyle, dare I say, flew under the radar. Let me explain. And I dove into these in a video that's going to be releasing on my channel. Alabama was in the list for several top prospects, top schools. I'm talking Elijah Griffin, who just dropped his top 12. Ackland Deer just dropped his. Alabama's in there. CJ Wiley just dropped his. Alabama's in there. David Sanders, the number 2 player in the nation, the number 1 offensive tackle, and the number 1 player in North Carolina, just dropped his top 6. Alabama is squarely in that. Ladies and gentlemen, the argument that Alabama's brand was Nick Saban's brand, it's disingenuous. Yes, Alabama had a brand with Nick Saban, and yes, Nick Saban had his own brand, but do not be disenfranchised into believing that Alabama does not have a brand. They are recruiting at a high level right now, and I was really interested to see how many of these top-level guys are including Alabama in their top schools. That, in my opinion, flew under the radar. And quick shout out to Patriot Life. Gifted 5 Bama football on YouTube with Kyle Henderson memberships. Patriot Life, by my count, since I've been on, that's 25 now, since last Wednesday or Thursday, I believe. The man, the myth, the legend, rocking it out, going hard with the memberships. But Kyle, got to hear from you about the Alabama recruiting.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity this coming weekend for Coach Kalen DeBoer to showcase not only his ability to recruit, but also the entire coaching staff's ability to recruit, and see Alabama here in Tuscaloosa under Coach Kalen DeBoer. Because I think, for the last, before the dead period, Alabama was on the road, right? You're away, you're meeting new people, you're shaking hands, but now come back here. Come see greatness here in Tuscaloosa. And also, I think it bodes really well for Alabama following the NFL Combine. I mean, you look at guys, how they performed. Dallas Turner, you were like, look, these guys were built by Bama. Terrion Arnold, Chris Broswell, guys that just performed. I mean, Jermaine Burton's performance was great. So I think that you're like, look, this is still the process. We want to get you here, get you developed so you can go ultimately to the NFL. And I love it. I can't wait to see what he can do, as well as his coaching staff. But Ty, I'll let you get back to your segment. Please run the thumbs up on all these videos. Alabama starts off this mega week with landing Antonio Coleman, flipping him from Auburn to Alabama. Now, that is 2 big victories for Coach Kalen DeBoer over Auburn, and he just got here. A lot of momentum going into this week. Remember, we got you covered with tons of spring football coverage coming up all this week. Monday, you got the press conference from Kalen DeBoer. Wednesday, open practice. We have tons of footage and tons of coverage coming your way right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Ty, have an amazing segment, and we'll catch up with you soon right here on Bama Football on YouTube.
Thank you very much, Kyle. And Kyle made an interesting point.